On this video, I will tell you the top 5 infantry marches for the open field and also suggest you the best 5 marches setup in case you are an infantry main. We will also talk about which civilization is the best one to use and some alternative pairings. Together with us, to answer a few questions, there will be Duke from the Infantry Fortress community. We have discussed this topic together and we found our ideas about the top 5 infantry marches to be very similar, so let's take a look together. Hello there and welcome back to Week Gaming, this time with a fully focused infantry video. Before going straight to the pairings, let me make a quick disclaimer. Using a single troop type on the field is never going to give you the same benefits of differentiating your marches. For this reason, when we speak about the 5 marches setup for an infantry main player, that will be our idea for the best solution in that specific context. But it doesn't mean that one is the best setup in general for the open field. If you want to know which, in my opinion, are the best 5 marches to use together on the open field, I published a guide last week. Feel free to check it out by clicking the card up on the top. But first, let's address which ones for us are the best 5 infantry marches to use on the open field taken individually. Commanders might repeat. I will start from the bottom going up. In position number 5, we have Pakal with Harold secondary. Actually, Pakal is not the best open field commander. And why is he on the list then? The reason is very simple. Everyone underestimates Pakal as open field commander. Normally, players in a murder ball attack the opponents trying to follow a certain order, eliminating from the field all the Guan Yu, Zhang Yu, and probably all the Nebu YSG they can find. The result is that Pakal will be able to attack almost without being disturbed, and in the moment Harold stacks up the attack, the damage dealt will be very high and the reports will therefore look very good. Both me and Duke agree with the fact that the best strength of this pairing is the low priority basing on which he gets focused. Therefore, he deserves to be on the list. Number 5, Pakal and Harold. Going to number 4, we have Alexander the Great with secondary Harold or CJ. Alex and Harold has been proven already capable of pulling out big fat reports in murder balls, and the march speed given by Alex is one of the reasons this combo is very versatile and, differently from other infantry marches, can escape in a very dangerous situation. Having CJ as secondary commander will emphasize this aspect even more, making it one of the fastest infantry marches you can possibly have in the game. Even though Alex and CJ is for the most part a single target damaging march, even if both CJ and Harold have some AoE capabilities, they have a low priority as well in open field, and the high offensive capabilities will consent them to boost your reports quite a bit in a very short time. A special mention in position number 4 we felt like had to go to Guan Yu and Alexander the Great, probably one of the most widespread infantry marches in the game. Not having that march on the list would have been bad. They surely deserve a special mention, and we thought to place this march in position number 4 with Alex and Harold or CJ. Number 3, Harold and CJ. This is probably one of the most devastating infantry marches for a quick run and kill. Harold Primary, combined with a skill tree and a few lucky active skill fires in the early turns of a battle, together with the offensive capabilities of CJ, will consent you to snipe marches immediately going out flags or cities, and even having great reports in open field. This march is very popular among infantry main players. You should really try it out. Number 2, we have a leadership commander that is used with a function of an infantry commander. We are talking about Trajan with Harold secondary. This march has such a great utility that every big player out there is bringing it on the field. We can consider Trajan as a sort of brother for the infantry commanders, because even if you are using him with Aethelflaed, in the most cases you are bringing 80% infantry with him. Trajan and Harold is devastating, provides the team with useful rage boosts and skill damage increase, and helps all the other marches getting better reports when he's around. Trajan also has the capability to compensate the defense loss from Harold with some boost in the same statistic when the battle is ongoing, so you will not suffer that much Harold's downsides, and that's mostly why they work so well together. So number 2, Trajan and Harold. We are finally at the top of the list. According to our opinions, both Duke and myself, the best infantry march for the open field is still Guan Yu and Leonidas, with alternatively CJ. And I said it in my last open field guide, Leonidas or CJ are the best complement to Guan Yu. They both provide strong utilities, which are a decent AoE and health boost in the case of Leonidas, and good AoE with march speed and a big offensive capability in the case of CJ. They are two very different commanders that work great in synergy with Guan Yu and will consent you to pull out the best reports with an infantry march on the open field. To quickly recap, in position number 5 we find Pakal and Harold. In position 4 we have Alex and Harold or CJ with a special mention to Guan Yu and Alexander the Great. Number 3, Harold and CJ. Number 2, Trajan and Harold, and at the top of the list we got Guan Yu and Leonidas or CJ. But wait, the video is not over. Now it comes the fun part for the infantry main players. The question many of you asked was, Wick, if I am an infantry main, which is the best 5 marches infantry setup I can use in the open field? Well, let's address this. After discussing with Duke, we found in our opinion one of the most balanced setups. We will also offer some alternatives at the end. The 5 marches infantry setup for an infantry main player should be Guan Yu and Leonidas, Trajan and Harold, Pakal and CJ, Alex and Richard, Constantine and Mulan, or alternatively Joan of Arc. The reason why Leonidas is behind Guan is because putting CJ there means also to have Leonidas behind Pakal, and that doesn't work very well like having CJ behind Pakal. Again, we know that Trajan and Harold is a leadership march, but low-key, we all know that he could very well be an infantry commander. We really needed his utility to be present in this setup. For the fans of Richard, you can see that we included Alex and Richard because that march is very useful in a full infantry setup. So you cannot say anymore that I hate Richard, because I honestly don't. He was one of the first commanders I personally maxed out. Well, to be honest, back then we did not have many choices, but still Richard can be useful if you can play him and you balance out the other marches around him. Alternative pairings include Alexander the Great and Sun Tzu, which many players still prefer compared to other legendary commanders, and we all can understand why, Harold and Sun Tzu, Richard and Harold, and Charles Martel and Harold. These 4 marches all represent valid alternatives to the infantry setup we have described just a moment ago. Now I have the honor to be joined by Duke from the Infantry Fortress community, and I will ask him a few questions regarding infantry. Duke plays in Kingdom 1770, Alliance and 70D. Hey Duke, how is it going? Thanks for being here and for taking time to speak to the community.
Thanks for having me, Wick. Glad to be on.
Alright, let's get straight into the first question. That is, which are the benefits to focus on 5 infantry march setup? Would you rather prefer focusing on a 4 infantry setup and add something else on the side?
I think the benefits of a 5 infantry march setup is just that it gives you the maximum amount of buffs that you would have with your civilization, special units, and city skin. Most of those buffs only come to one troop type, so having all of one troop type lets you capitalize on all those. That said, I personally prefer having at least one other type in a murder ball. I think with the current options we have, it's best to, go with something like a Saladin William that'll give you much more, buffs in the field.
Wonderful. We have already discussed about this offline, but it's always nice to listen to the motivations that lead the player to specific decisions. Let's go now on question number 2. Which is the civilization that you will recommend for an infantry main player who decides to bring, let's say, at least 3 infantry marches on the field?
If you're a player under VIP 15, I would recommend you pick France. I think the healing buff is very important, but for anyone else who's in Season of Conquest, I think the Vikings is definitely the best civilization out there. The counterattack damage is fantastic for all infantry marches.
I fully agree with your opinion here. I will also recommend to players below a certain VIP level to use France, and then over that, if you're focused on open field, going with infantry. Because as we said offline, Vikings will capitalize with the crystal technology. Is that right?
Absolutely. Counterattack damage will increase the more crystal technology you get and as your attack increases.
Sure, I personally do not have anything to add in this regard, just maybe emphasizing the utility of Rome if you're a garrison leader, which anyway is not the topic of this video, but I thought it was appropriate to point it out. My last questions for you, Duke, is something more personal and related to your gaming experience. Which is the infantry march that you prefer and you would never give up to? It doesn't have to be related to strength, utility, or anything else, just the first thing that comes up to your mind.
I'd have to say it's Guan and Leo. It's one of the most balanced marches in the game. The silence is a fantastic skill in the open field, and the double AoE combined with Leo's sustainability makes it a march you can't ignore, but it's hard to remove.
That's very nice. My personal favorite infantry march is probably Guan Yu and CJ or Alex and CJ. I like to be fast in open field or when I'm playing Ark of Osiris, and those marches give me a great deal of march speed even being infantries. Alright, Duke, thank you so much for being with us and for taking time to speak with the community. I hope you have a great day.
Thanks for having me on, Wick.
My pleasure. So before closing the video up, I would like to give a quick shout out to Duke's infantry communities, the Infantry Fortress and the 300 Rock Infantry server. You will find the links to the Discords in the description down below, and I strongly suggest you join them if you're interested in talking infantry with some very, very passionate people. Thank you all for tuning in. Remember to leave a like and subscribe if you enjoyed my content, and I will see you on the next one. Ciao!